Welcome everybody to the meeting of the Operations and Assets Committee. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jane Llewellyn, Acting Deputy Down Clerk. I will be clerking the meeting this evening. In the absence of Anne Hills, the chair of this committee, I'm going to temporarily take the chair, and as there is no deputy chair, ask for a nomination for a chair of this meeting. Steve?
I propose Mark Dorrington.
Thank you. And a seconder? Lindsay, thank you. Chair is over to you, Mark.
You have to vote on
Do we need cards?
Sorry?
Do we need our cards or not?
Oh, haven't you got your cards? Yes, yeah, give you your cards. Okay, so yes, if everybody would like to vote on that, now that you've got your cards. Richard, as you're not actually elected to the committee yet, you're unable to vote. You can participate, but sadly not vote. Hopefully that will be rectified at the next council meeting. Sorry, I was distracted. Could I have a, so that's one, two, and that's unanimous, or majority, sorry, thank you. Over to you, Mark.
Can I vote for myself?
You can vote for yourself, yes. That's a majority.
I appreciate the sentiment, Richard. Thank you. Thank you very much for electing me to this grand office. I will read the script now. So tonight, as Jane says, the meeting of Froome Town Council's Operations and Assets Committee. I'm Mark Dorrington. I'll be chairing this meeting now. Just to remind everybody, we've got people online and here in the room. For those in the room, you should all know by now, I'm sure, the emergency exit is at the back. In the corner, assembly point is in the far side of the car park, toilets at the end of the corridor on the right, and accessible toilet to the right of the lift. Help yourself to some drinks. Jane will clerk tonight. Sarah, Rachel and Laura will manage the minutes, questions board, participant settings and the IT generally. The meeting will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. For those councillors attending via Zoom, please use the yellow hand, and for everyone else, please ask questions to the Q&A board. First, on the agenda, apologies for absence. Jane, do we have any?
Apologies from Anne Hills, Andy Jones, and Fiona, who is with us online, but obviously can't vote, but will participate in any discussion.
Right, can I ask for someone to propose we accept those apologies? That's Lindsay, seconded by Steve.
And that's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. Does any councillor have a declaration of interest in any of this evening's proceedings? No, thank you. So the next item will be to approve the minutes of the last meeting of this committee, which was on the 26th of November 2025. Does anybody have any questions arising from those minutes? In which case, I propose to accept those meetings as a true record of our last meeting. Second that.
Somebody second?
Polly. Steve, you going to vote? Or abstain or deny it? Or... Okay, that's unanimous.
And that's unanimous.
Thank you. And I'll sign those minutes as we go on. Okay. Are there any questions and comments from the public and councillors? We'll start with our councillors first. I don't think we have any visiting councillors from Somerset tonight or anybody else. Is there anything anybody would like to ask that isn't covered in tonight's agenda? No? Anything from members of the public or other people attending the meeting? No, thank you very much. Okay, so our first agenda item is agenda item 4, and that's to approve this town. Yeah. Building up to it. And that's to approve the Town Council's approach to equality, diversity and inclusion. And from that, we'll hand over to Emily, who's our Community Engagement Officer.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name's Emily Osler. For those who don't know me, I'm in the communities team here at FTC. I'm here tonight to talk to you about equality, diversity and inclusion here at the Town Council. It's a topic that has a lot of terminology in and it can get confusing, so I'm going to call it equalities throughout my presentation, if that's okay with you. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about equalities at FTC and how we can strengthen our approach here. So the Town Council's vision for Frome is one in which everyone feels welcome and able to take part in the life of the town. And we know this isn't the case for everybody, and some people face significant barriers to doing so. We're always asking in our team and in the wider Town Council who we're not reaching and how we can make everyone feel welcome and asking what the barriers are. And we need to hear the perspectives of people who experience those barriers, including people with protected characteristics, which means an aspect of someone's identity, which under the Equality Act means they are protected from discrimination. So it's essential that we show that our decisions are informed by those perspectives and that we understand what the data is telling us and that we have enough information about how people will be affected before we make those decisions. That's really important for people with protected characteristics. So we are growing as a town council and adapting to new responsibilities. So compliance is really, really important, but we are already doing some fabulous work in this area, and there are many opportunities to build on this and strengthen our approach as well. So if tonight you pass the recommendations in my report, then working towards the objectives in this report will mean that we can tighten our response to legislation and evidence compliance with the Equality Act 2010. We can build equalities thinking into decision making and demonstrate good practice by harnessing new tools and processes that I'll talk about later. We can improve understanding and confidence internally and externally, really important, about issues affecting people with protected characteristics. And we can continue to identify and reduce barriers to participation of protected or otherwise marginalised groups in the town, by which I mean other groups that we might feel need particular attention aren't necessarily protected under the Equality Act. They could be, for example, veterans or carers. There are three objectives I will try and get through as quickly as possible. The first objective is to meet our statutory duties under equalities legislation. So if equalities thinking always features heavily in our work already, but there is a need now to be more explicit and consistent about this. So Frome Town Council is required to comply with the public sector equality duty in relation to all of our work. So this is a specific duty on public authorities in the Equality Act, and it requires us to understand and take account of the impact of our decisions on people with protected characteristics. And this is in addition to our responsibilities as an employer towards people with protected characteristics under the Act. So it's a specific duty on us as a public authority. So not all groups will be impacted for every decision, and we need to use data to understand what groups they are. I have put the protected characteristics up on the slide for you there. On the right-hand side, there are 9, and I'm guessing when I change this slide that none of you will be able to remember what they all are. So the equality duty is split into 2 parts. So the general and specific duties. And the general duty requires us to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, advance equality of opportunity, and foster good relations between people who share and people who don't share a protected characteristic. So what does due regard actually mean? So due regard means that you have consciously thought about the aims of the duty when making decisions, and you've decided when it's proportionate to take further action to understand and mitigate the impacts of the decisions on people with protected characteristics. So this is in addition to consultation that we might ordinarily do about a big decision or project. It really needs to think consciously about which protected characteristics come into play and how they might be impacted, so that we can have all the information we need to make the decision. And further action is often needed when changes to policies or services, significant financial decisions on new projects are proposed. So not for every decision, but certainly for significant ones. And two further objectives in this report I'll talk about will show how we can strengthen our response to the general duty. Okay, so we also have some specific duties under the Act for an organisation of our size. And they are designed to support the general duty. They are to publish information annually on our compliance with the general duty with regards to people affected by what we do. So this could take the form of a short, a short equalities report within the council's annual report, for example, but we could also publish things like equality impact assessments, research, data, or information about projects that may have focused on particular protected characteristics, for example, particular equalities issues. And the second one of the specific duties is to publish one or more equality objectives at least every 4 years. So that seems really achievable to me. Objectives should reflect known gaps or needs, so stuff we know about that we think needs addressing. They should be specific and measurable and realistic for an organisation of our size and influence. So, for example, it would be unrealistic of us to set an objective to say we're going to reduce inequality of a particular group because we don't have influence over the parameters of inequality, but it might be realistic to set an objective to say increase engagement with a specific community or group, improve tolerance and understanding between one group or another, or perhaps to take steps to improve diversity within our workforce, be another one we could set. But this is something that we will need to discuss internally and also with what we know from our partners in the town. It is also recommended that policies reflect our approach to complying with the equality duties. It's really important that we're very explicit about that. Okay, so that's objective one. Objective two, as part of our improvement plan, strengthen our approach to understanding equality impacts in decision making. Now, as I've said, significant decisions do require additional work to understand what the equality impacts are, and some learning from recent projects suggests that a more consistent approach is now needed. So best practice to help with this would be to develop an equality impact assessment tool, and that will help us to comply with the public sector equality duty, identify any gaps where protected groups may be impacted by the proposed project or decision, and reduce negative impacts. It's important to say that this process isn't just about negative impacts, it can also highlight positive ones, and that can help us achieve our equality objectives or meet other aspirations, or demonstrate good practice, for example. An equality impact assessment should not be onerous to use. It should support good decision making, and it should be used when proportionate and necessary. And as such, one of the things we might look at is a kind of two-stage process where we could have an initial equality screening, and then, if required, a full equality impact assessment for larger projects and decisions. So we want to make it as usable as possible. Okay, so we have used equality impact assessment in the past, but how and when is quite inconsistent, so we need to introduce some consistency. I can see that slide isn't especially accessible. It's just not a good start. Okay, so this is just an example of a template we could use. This was actually given to me by the Equalities Lead at Somerset. It's not the one that Somerset Council use. That's a lot more heavy. This one is designed for parish and town councils. Rob kindly tested this one out last year when the decision was made about the Henley Way access ramp. It was a really useful process to go through because it made us realise that we didn't have enough information about the impacts, specifically in this case on disabled people or people that require level access. So as a result of that, we were able to go through a process of having an accessibility audit done of the entire route, in order to understand whether the alternative route was a reasonable alternative. And as part of that work, some accessibility improvements were suggested, and I believe some of them have been carried out as well. So obviously, it's important to say here that doing this process doesn't dictate a particular outcome. It is the process is really important. It's designed to understand what do we know, what don't we know, what more information do we need in order to make a really balanced decision and make sure that those impacts on people with protected characteristics are fully understood before that decision is made. So in that sense, it's really important to do it very, very early on and at the beginning of any decision-making process. Also, it's important to say you don't need to be an expert on protected characteristics to fill one of these out. If we introduce this, we'll obviously be providing training, but it's just a matter of knowing who to ask, where to find information in order to do this. So if approved, this process will be developed internally and rolled out for significant decisions, and it will become part of the project management process, which is currently under review at the moment. So, almost there. Objective 3. So objective 3 is to identify where we could further improve, embed and evidence our equalities approach across the Council's work as part of an equalities action plan. So as I've said, there are lots of examples of really good practice going on beyond our statutory duties, and we don't often look at our work through an equalities lens. There are a lot of opportunities for development around this work that need further discussion and thinking to help us develop a consistent approach and celebrate good equalities impacts and outcomes, and have a sort of golden thread of equalities underpinning all of our work. So I will just run through some of the things that we're already doing and how we could develop this further. And I'm just going to say at this point that the action plan will also include developing 2 equality objectives to be adopted and reported on. But for this particular occasion, we are suggesting that objectives 2 and 3 of this report are adopted as interim objectives, because that will assist us to develop our approach. So I'll come back to that link afterwards. So one of the areas that we can have an impact on in this, in relation to equalities, is training and support. We can review staff and councillor equalities training and create opportunities to really improve the knowledge and confidence of staff and councillors around the needs of protected groups and other locally relevant groups. An example of that, I think, could be the settled traveller community in Frome. We do have significant communities of settled travellers in some of our neighbourhoods, and I think it's definitely a community that we perhaps lack understanding in. Would be brilliant to invite some people in and have a little bit of awareness raising around that. And there are others, I'm sure there are plenty of others as well. We could consider becoming a disability confident employer. I've spoken with Laura about this. It's something that for the first couple of levels involves self-certification, so it's quite simple to do, and you can include positive action measures, but effectively what it does is it tells any disabled person who is thinking of applying to us for one of our jobs when they come up, that the recruitment process is going to be accessible and fair, and that we will make reasonable adjustments that they need, and that also if they're successful in getting the job, that they're coming to a place that is going to make those reasonable adjustments for them and be a welcoming employer. Build on our work with community organisations by supporting them with their equalities approaches, especially around gaps that we've identified. So the recent Frome funding landscape research identified the need to increase the participation of service users within the governance of organisations that are intended to support them. So that's something that we could definitely look at. And also something that came out of that was about the venue accessibility within the town as well. So yeah, it's definitely something to look at. Okay, second one, facilities and open spaces. So better use targeted research and engagement at the earliest opportunity to understand the impacts on protected groups when we propose significant changes to open spaces. So like I said, it's building on the consultation that we already do to kind of really target those people. And this supports our goal of creating safe, welcoming and inclusive open spaces and a playful town. Example of that that's happening at the moment is alongside the consultation that Maverick is currently doing around the skate park. We have engaged an independent researcher to take a deeper look at the equalities impact of the new skate park, positive and negative, and help us understand how we can mitigate those through the design, programming and management of the new skate park. Comply with our duty to make reasonable adjustments by continuing to improve the accessibility of our buildings and open spaces. So open spaces, the Ranger team do a fantastic job of, where they can, of installing things like sand pits, the accessible play tower at Welsh Mill, accessible picnic benches and paths. The town hall is largely accessible, but of course there's always more to do. And I do understand that work is underway on investigating improving the disabled parking provision at the town hall, which is great to hear. Understand how we can leverage better access for disabled people to the town's facilities and businesses. So, for example, through training and support for businesses to harness the Purple Pound in Frome, and that's the Purple Pound means the collective spending power of disabled people, which is worth in the UK almost £500 million annually. I know Rachel's team has done work on this previously, and that there have been efforts within the town as well. But I definitely think is something worth building on. Okay. Commissioning and procurement. So prioritise commissioning, which invests in activities and services that support our equality objectives and foster good relations between groups, especially those that we identify. So this is a really strong area for us. The young people's co-design space, for example, in Mary Bailey, to create an inclusive space for young people in the park. Young people participatory grant making, violence against women and girls work at International Women's Day events, and of course the work to support a multitude of events across the town which cater for a huge range of people and interests, so that there really is something for everyone. And I know that the comms team in particular make good efforts to make those as accessible as possible. Ensure our contractors and partners support and reflect our equalities approach. So, for example, the recent tender process, which resulted in Maverick taking forward the skate park contract, was very good in terms of making sure that inclusion and equalities thinking was in there from the beginning of that tender process, which was great to see. Use our grant funding process to ensure organisations we fund are proactive about equalities issues that affect their work and those they support. So just as we have expectations of our grant applicants around safeguarding, so should we around equalities as well. So following the participatory grant making pilots, we'll also be looking at the accessibility of the community grants process itself. And the Grants Advisory Panel and the Young Opinions Unite certainly had a lot to say about this, so we'll be taking forward the learning from that. Okay, almost there. So communications and engagement. So we've got a brilliant opportunity to use our digital platform to target specific equalities issues or groups, understand where the gaps are. So currently the toilets consultation is live, and that will help us not only to understand what the potential impacts of the different options being offered are, but also it will show us who else we need to reach through face-to-face engagement, and that's a really good facet of that. Introduce critical friends to advise us on our equalities work and check our progress. So, for example, they could look at completed equalities impact assessments or sense checker project or policy, or focus on the accessibility of one of our buildings, for example. And I know work like that has been carried out before as well. Finally, harness participatory grant making to target protected groups and other locally relevant groups, and test participation bursaries to reduce barriers. So we have done 2 pilots, the Young People's Pilot and the Grants Advisory Panel, and so we'll be bringing a report on that to a council meeting very soon. So these are just some areas of ongoing work, which when you sort of put them through that equalities lens, does sound very good. But obviously there are also areas for development that we could build upon. So yeah, the intention is to kind of work internally to put this together into an equalities action plan, along with the legislative stuff and the equality impact assessment process. Yeah, that's the plan. I just wanted to just quickly go back a couple of slides, if I can. It's a bit slow. Yeah, so I just wanted to point out this link here, Equalities Framework for Local Government. If any of you are interested in finding out more about this area, this is an absolutely brilliant resource for councillors and for officers as well. It really helps to, shape what progress looks like in this area. So I would definitely recommend looking that up. And that's it. Those are the 3 objectives, and that's it from me. Any questions?
Any questions for Emily about that report? Lenka?
Working? Yes. I wanted to say thank you so much to Emily, because this has been a long, long time coming, and I'm really pleased. And I've had a few conversations with Emily, as others have as well. So yeah, it's just really, really brilliant, because this is what we really need.
I would like to second that. Very much needed, and thank you for your work on making this an important piece of work that needs to be looked at and taken on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay for a minute.
I think, Karen, when Karen was a trustee of Fair Froome, there was the Access for All campaign. I don't know who was here then, remembers that, but obviously there was a big amount of work that was done at that time, and audits and things of the building, and I know it's, I've already talked to Andy about this, but yeah, like the access to this building, I've talked to Jane, the painting that was done here 5 years ago, it was done in the wrong way. So wheelchair users can't actually access our Elliott building to get into our pantry. There's no drop curb on the side, the parking space is there. I know Jane's following that up with Somerset Council. Let's see how long that takes.
A long time like that,
Yeah, 5 years, yeah. It was repainted. And then obviously the changing places, we really hope that that's resolved as quickly as possible with the misuse that's going on there. I understand that Discover Froome are actually selling radar keys, which I found quite disturbing, because that shouldn't really be happening. That's somebody that works there told me that. I don't know if that's true, but...
They were, they're now not.
Right, okay. Good. Because this is the problem, that it's changing places, completely being misused, and then it's not accessible, for people. There's people been in tears over the situation. And do we want to say something about art? Do you want to, Kristen?
That again, I'd like to say the same as Emily. It's really, really amazing to hear that this work is starting to be done, and such a shame that it's been so long coming. But it's really exciting. I am with Lenka part of a group called ARC, which is Anti-Racist Community in Froome. Over the years, we've worked with schools, and it's obviously dependent on who's involved and what happens. We had an incredible meeting put on with a consultant a few years ago with all the head teachers of Froome, who really took a while to get on board, but were really on board at looking at racism within schools and how to build an anti-racist curriculum and approach to racist incidents within schools. We have sort of regrouped really recently because there's been a massive increase in racist incidents within schools, which I'm I'm hoping are being reported to the council, because I know they come from the school to the council. We are supporting parents in these situations. My daughter is due to go to Frome College in a couple of years, and we do have the head teacher that came to my daughter's school to encourage the children to come there. And it's really difficult to hear that there are racist incidents that aren't being dealt with at the schools. And I'm aware that schools need more support, which we're really happy to support and get involved and encourage. But if there's if that is on the agenda, it would be fantastic. And I'd also encourage sort of looking at housing associations. I live on a council estate actually where I think Emily used to work when I first moved there, and the work she did created an incredible impact on the community being together rather than separate. Over time, that's changed. We would love, as ARC, to really get involved with local shops, local schools, local housing associations to really get on board with an anti-racist approach to all the communities. There's a lot of exciting things you can do to create togetherness and belonging, but also some very clear procedures of how to deal with racist incidents, that the procedures are followed through, and which is what we're seeing, that there are some procedures down, but they're not being followed through. And there is a lot of lack of confidence in how to do that, which is why we brought the consultant in those years back to help the schools feel more supported in actually following through on the procedures. So that's something, it would be amazing to hear more on that in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, we don't know. Can you introduce yourself?
Sorry, I'm Christy Oliver.
Hi, Christy. Thank you for coming and any comments. Any further comments in the room? I know I can see Fiona waving, so we'll introduce our guest artiste. Fiona, for those of you who don't know, Fiona's our leader and chair, but she's unable to attend for health reasons at the moment, but is very active online. So if somebody can let Fiona speak.
I think I can let myself speak, but thank you, Mark, and thank you, Lenka, Karen and Christy, for that. Just a couple of things. Did I hear right, Christy? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Sorry. Just to say, really interesting to hear about the work that you're doing with ARC. I've actually done some work with Frome College a little bit over the last few years, mainly sort of coming in through Greenhouse. But I actually met, you might have come across him, an amazing young man. I think he's, I seen him called Tyler, who won the Anne Frank Somerset Award for his work on anti-racism in Frome College. Around discrimination towards the settled traveller community or towards traveller communities. And I'd actually been trying to get him to come along to one of our council meetings to speak, but I messaged him and then he went away to college and then he messaged me and then I was diagnosed with cancer and didn't get back to him. But I will bump that up the list because he is amazing. And I'm also very happy if you want to send an email to Emma Reynolds about the work that you do, the principal of Frome College, if that would be helpful, and see whether we can sort of bump it up that. I think when you say the council, that incidences of racism go, I think that is Somerset Council, I'm presuming. So that wouldn't be us, but we can definitely see what we can do to sort of kind of build that connection a bit more, if that's okay. And then I just wanted to say, before I go, thank you so much to Emily. And I think this paper and the work that you've done, Emily, is a really good example of our improvement plan in action and our approach to improvement and transformation, that we are recognizing that we have grown very quickly in the last few years and that there are areas where where we do a lot, but we're maybe not sort of articulating it as well as we could, and we're not sort of doing as much as we want to do. So areas where we can strengthen our approach, and it's just really amazing to it's just really great to sort of see this in action and to see us sort of go, okay, here's an area where we can do a bit more and we can sort of strengthen our approach, and then we're going to go away, we're going to think about it, and then we're going to come back with a plan to make it better. So thank you very much, Emily.
Thank you all. Thank you, Fiona. Emily's coming back.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that it sounds
like maybe our first kind of talk that we could have here to invite people to would be on that theme, and it would be great to get the student along Fiona you're talking about, and then perhaps some members of your group could come as well. So that would be a nice one to kick off to, and would certainly help us to foster good relations between groups, which is one of our duties. Thank you.
Go ahead, Christy.
I just wanted to also flag up, it would be great for discussion, is we've drafted recently a anti-racist charter, and we created a poster. We're just finalising the draft at the moment. That would be something we'd love to discuss, because along with schools, shops, and housing associations, there's also some incredible work that I've been seeing in the community for young people, including the tennis club. The funding, there's an reaching out funding my children receive to be able to attend tennis lessons. It has been incredible. The man that runs it, Stephen, is doing amazing work. So it would be amazing to identify in that meeting organisations like Frome Town United also, that are doing fantastic things with young people in the community that I think would have an incredible impact in creating inclusivity. So just thinking about where maybe a charter would work really well, where there is a stamp on we stand for anti-racism and we understand our part in it. I just wanted to flag that up. That would be great if we could discuss further.
Richard?
Thank you very much for your report and the presentation. Can I just ask a question about the equalities impact assessments? And you said that you would do those for large or significant projects. Can you say who decides what a large or significant project is? Is it you doing the EIA, or is it somebody else?
Thank you for the questions. I think that the answer to your first question in terms of who decides is to be decided, and part of writing this action plan will be very much deciding how that's going to work. As I said, it does need to be proportionate, but clearly we do make significant financial decisions and large projects reasonably often, but we won't want to be doing an equality impact assessment, for example, for buying stationery. So we need to, we need to work that out to be decided. In answer to your second question, I will not be doing the equality impact assessments myself, unless it's my project. So the idea is to very much build this into the normal workings of initiating a project. And I believe that there are some new parts of a report at the end of the report now that need to be, I don't know what they're called, Jane, but whether there are kind of equalities implications, financial implications, etc. So that's a kind of another way of keeping check on progress, I think.
Yeah, Emily, just to answer your question, as part of the improvement plan, we have added several new headings to the reports, one of those being equalities implications, and even if the response is none, it demonstrates that they've been considered along with legal and HR implications. It's just a checklist for whoever's writing the report, and the person who's signing it off can ensure that it's been included.
Just as a newbie councillor, it would be helpful if those summaries could be at the beginning of the report, and perhaps I could just suggest that the council think about that for the future as a possibility.
Are you talking about the headings that we've put in?
Yeah, at the end, they might be more useful right at the very beginning of the reports, but that's just a personal view of mine.
Okay, well, we'll take that away and discuss it with the relevant people, and then come back to you.
Can I just to answer the question about who does the qualities impact assessment, just one live example that Emily's already mentioned. So for Henley Way, we wanted to do one. Emily gave me the form and gave me some briefing and training on using it. I did it and Emily checked it. So that's just one model for how it can work.
Okay, anything further on this topic? So we'll go to the recommendations. I propose taking them all as one vote. So we have 4 recommendations. The recommendation is 4-part. 1, to ensure the council is meeting its statutory duties to delegate to the acting town clerk to work with the relevant staff to achieve the following objectives. Number 1, ensure the council is meeting its statutory duties in relation to equality legislation. Number 2, as part of our improvement plan, strengthen our approach to understanding equality impacts in decision making. Number 3, identify where we could further improve, embed and evidence our equalities approach across the council's work as part of an equalities action plan. And number 4, approve the adoption of objectives 2 and 3 above as interim equality objectives and report back to Operations and Assets Committee to approve the equalities action plan. So can I have somebody to propose those recommendations? Steve? Oh, hang on. No, here you
go. Do we have to say about a time and when that's going to come back, or just before we vote on it, is there any idea about when it might come back?
Next one of these meetings, which I think is...
Next one. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Polly, for clearing that up. So Steve has proposed it. Polly will second it. Lindsay and I will vote as well.
And that's unanimous, thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you very much, Emily. There's a lot of work gone in there. That's much appreciated. And sorry, Fiona, if I said that I had to let you speak. What I meant was I had to let somebody press a button so we could hear you. Stop digging, Dorrington. Right. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, Rob's 45 minutes on our grit bin policy.
The grit bins in 1945. I know you've all come for this moment. I do, yes, I did. Living the dream is what we're doing. Grit bins, why are we doing a policy on it? It's to do with consistency and clarity. So there aren't too many slides on this. You will have seen the report. But at the moment, if somebody wants a grit bin, they can ask us. And there's no criteria written down as to whether it's a yes or it's a no. So it ends up being subjective, and there isn't any rationale other than one person's view. Obviously, it can be based on best practice, but no one can see what the criteria is. I had an example of somebody asking for a grit bin on a road. It was a slope. There was a grit bin about 20 or 30 metres away. So that ended up being a no, but they weren't happy with that, and it ended up being my personal view. That's not really the way it should be. Much better if there's clear criteria. So that's what this is about. Clarity and therefore consistency. So brief bit of background. Town councils are not legally obliged to provide grit bins, but generally they do to support the highways authorities' best endeavours, so far as reasonably practical, to ensure that the roads are free of ice and snow. So we don't have to do it, but town councils and parish councils do tend to do this. Grit bins are solely for use on public roads. If grit is taken from a grit bin and used on a private road or the drive, that is technically theft. So it is for public highways. And how it works at the moment in terms of the grit that goes in the grit bin, at the moment Somerset fill those at the start of winter, and they may do a secondary refill depending on their availability and need, but it's not a guaranteed thing. And even then filling it up at the start of the season is, I think, discretionary. So the background here is, though, that's our network. Thank you to Becca for another amazing map. That is our network of grit bins. So you can see there are some areas, but they are the flat areas, such as the Stonebridge area where there are no grit bins. The grit bins tend to be on the areas where there's slopes. No surprises there. But in terms of if someone were to request one, we would refer to how close they are to an existing grit bin. That's just an example of one there. Yeah, so that's how it works at the moment. So the proposal is that in order for a grit bin application to be successful, it must be one of the criteria on the left plus one of the criteria on the right. So it must be on a public road. That comes back to it has to be for the use on public roads. And the criteria, and this is based on having done research on what other town councils recommend and do in their towns. So it must be over 200 metres from the nearest grit bin. Although there may be cases where that can be discretionary down to 150 metres, may be acceptable depending on local geography. Not already on a priority route that's gritted for obvious reasons, and the siting of a grit bin mustn't actually obstruct the path or road. There must be 1.5 metre clearance around the grit bin. So it must be all of those. If it's none of those, it's not going to qualify. And then there has to be a specific reason for the grit bin. So it has to be one of the ones on the right, either a slope, a history of accidents, a particular concentration of vulnerable users, such as, for instance, around a care home or a school or a scout group, or where there's, this is a very particular one, but where there's documented localised problems because water's running off. So all of the left, one of the right. That's it. So the recommendation is to adopt that as a policy.
Any questions for Rob on grit bins?
Come on.
No? Okay. In that case, the recommendation is to adopt the policy, setting out these criteria and the process to be used to assess applications. I will propose that. Lindsay, second. Even Polly in favour.
That's unanimous, thank you. I have to say, I'm very disappointed that you didn't get the Golden Grit Bin Award in there somewhere, Rob.
Yes, there will be an Easter egg trail featuring grit bins.
Also the words nitty-gritty.
Yeah. Okay, well, staying with Rob, we have a review of our Nurture Open Spaces work programme. This is for information, it's not for a vote. So, Rob, can you fill us in, please?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go through various topics which are live at the moment. It'll be all visual, but ask me questions as we go or at the end. So this is a review of the last 3 months. So the live situation along the Welsh Mill path at the moment is that the bank has been eroded. This is, I think, almost certainly down to the high volumes of water that we had during January and February. So sustained levels of high water passing through the River Frome at higher speeds than normal. And that bank there, which was about 3 metres, is basically, there's almost no bank at all. And you can see one of the posts there starting to lean. There's cracks in the tarmac, and it is going. So something has got to be done. The first approach was, let's put a barrier in place, sheet piling. But of course, you have to work with the Environment Agency. I was thinking maybe we could get an exemption, but exemptions only apply where there's risk of life or risk to houses, so we won't get an exemption. So we've got to work to get a permit. To get a permit, you need a design. So we've brought in Eastern Bevins to contract manage this, and they'll reach out to a designer who is used to doing work on riverbanks. and they'll be able to do a design, enter into a discussion with EA, confirm the design, get a permit. At that point, we've got a design, and they'll take it out to tender, and then the works can happen. Originally, the thinking was it might be sheet piling, but just to show you that photo on the right, another option is actually sandbags filled with concrete, and behind that there is concrete on top. That would probably be quite a lot cheaper and maybe visually a bit softer. So it's not been decided yet, to be reviewed. So there will be a cost to this. Actually, it might be less with this option than originally feared. But yeah, we'll just keep you in the loop as we go. We won't know until we get the design and then we get the tender quotes back from the contractor. Watch this space. Yes, Steve.
Rob, it's the work that the Rivers Authority did on the opposite bank. It's pretty much opposite that.
It is almost exactly opposite.
Yeah, I mean, coincidence?
I did. Oh, I see. I don't know whether we could establish a causal relationship between the two. EA certainly haven't admitted one.
No, I don't suppose they have. But,
I did say that this is happening very close to your boat slipway that we've enabled, and just 100 metres from your weir.
Yeah.
Would you be able to help? And they said they'd certainly talk about the design with us.
Right.
So they won't. Their role is not to do; is just to advise.
Yeah, but if what they've done on the river is, I mean,
no, I hear what you say.
Flows, doesn't it? You know,
it does.
It comes off of one part and then hits another part.
I hear what you say. I think they're not going to admit liability, and I think proving that would be really. But I hear what you say. Yeah. Food for thought, Lindsay.
Can you tell us what the exemption you said?
So, if it were by houses, and there was a danger of flooding going into the houses, or being so risky to the people in those houses that there was a danger to public health, you'd have to. That's the bar. There's the fact that it's going to impact a well-used path doesn't cut the mustard. Unfortunately, I thought it might, but it doesn't. So we'll keep you in the loop on that one. So these are various projects that are going on at the moment, just to give you a briefing about. Won't go into the detail of them, but we are refreshing actually 3 play areas at the moment. One of them is at Tower View, and one of them is at St John's, and we've been working, I say we, the communities team have done a great job of reaching out to the local community, so that this is a design that's come from the community, or that we've tested with the community before adopting it. And there are elements which are going to be installed by a play contractor, and elements to get the most value for money that we will be doing ourselves with the fantastic skills that the Ranger team have honed over many projects. So both are going to have a sand pit, which are much loved. One's going to have an access for all roundabout, which was a response to a particular need in that community. They're all going to have community benches, and in fact in Tower View we're also going to do a Milk Street style social seating area, a little bit away from the play area but next to the school. So we are quite excited actually about both of these. It's a lot of work, but both of these have been in need of refreshment for some time. So yeah, watch this space on those. The skate park's already been mentioned. The consultation, the community consultation, what people want in response actually in the first instance to this design. This is Maverick's proposed design, not for that to be the final version, but to get the ball rolling on consultation. That has had, at last count, over 120 people have replied, and it's been very, very positive. There's been suggestions that are more technical than I can comment on, but there have been suggestions of how it can be improved, but very, very positive response. And the end of the consultation will actually be on Friday, here in this room, 3:30 to 7:30, where Maverick will be here to hear all the community's views and enter into a really dynamic conversation with people to talk about specific proposals for how things could be changed and improved. And I think Maverick have done this again and again and again. It's always a very community-led approach. They pride themselves on that. So I'm looking forward to hearing quite constructive conversations, inspiration and new ideas coming forwards. So the stage we're at with that very big project is that the community consultation is actually already reaching the milestone of drawing to a close, and then it's very much into fundraising with a view to seeing how much of the funds we can get through local initiatives, grant applications, approaching relevant organisations such as the quarries, etc., etc. So there's quite a few options, very local, high-level national grants, and everything in between, and then we'll see where we get to. Very exciting project. Moving on. So I'm just going to give you an update because you guys helped fund this, and this was a game changer for us. You can see on the right hand side there just how tall that hedge is. That's a devolution hedge that came to us from Somerset. So we've taken on all this extra land. We would have had to have cut that by hand. It would have been almost impossible. A contractor's tractor would have been too big to get there. So the answer is this compact tractor. And it's been a bit of a mission this year because you guys approved the tractor. It took a number of weeks to actually get the tractor. Then we had to have training on the tractor and specialist training on using the flail. And we didn't really start the hedge cutting until quite late in the season, like end of January. And we have, as of a week or so ago, finished all of the hedge cutting. So that's over 5,000 metres of hedge cutting. So well done, I think, to the Ranger team for having knocked that out the park in double quick time, including learning how to use the machine in the first place. So that's really great. And thank you, everybody, for voting that through, because that was a real total game changer. There's an example of the tractor being used for other things, not just hedge cutting. We don't have to lift everything with human power now. That's great. So the community woodlands, we have just finished an amazing week planting up the community woodlands. 600 people helped us from right across Frome. Amazing project. We've had so much positive feedback. It has been an absolute joy to work on. So I just share a few photos. I won't dwell on any of them, but there've been quite a few steps in this journey. And the council's been briefed on most of these steps and voted at various stages. Thank you for all your support. It's been invaluable. Step one, it was a site that was given to us on a 99-year lease on condition that we sorted out the fly grazing. I have to say thank you very much to Mark in particular for helping with that very difficult journey. Came on site, very difficult meeting, advised every step of the way, and we got there in the end. So that was brilliant. Next step was making the site secure so the horses didn't just come straight back. So we did that, we ploughed up the field. Then we ploughed up the field and we left it for a while. And then the weeds, it became a forest of weeds, which is what we had there. So then we had to prepare that. And we did that with the help of Shire horses, which was absolutely marvellous. The public came along and they saw the Shire horses. A lot of love for the site and the project. That was such a great day, just preparing the land. And then that's what it turned into. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the river there at the bottom, all ready for the next stage of the project. And the next stage was to design what we were going to do there. That's the design on the right-hand side, which shows the 6 different species. Bottom right, it floods, gets very wet. If we put the wrong species, they would have died. But no, we put the alder and the goat willow down there, so they'll actually thrive if it gets wet. Oak and hornbeam at the top, black poplar, and field maple in the middle. And then the next stage, once we'd done that, was to turn that into how we would plant that. And it was gridded up into 142 squares with a path. And then the photo is of a guy with a GPS who actually marks the corners of every one of those squares and the route of that yellow path. And then once that was done, then we had to bring in over 200 tons of stone, which was delivered to us. And then we excavated the route of the path and took the stone to site, raked out with volunteers, community groups, obviously the rangers themselves. We battled as far as we could through January, trying to get that in before the rain stopped us, but the rain stopped us. It was biblical. It was just too much. But the path is about 3 days away from being completed. And then we put some soakaways and some land drains, that's a perforated pipe there, to just help with we saw where the problem points were on the path thanks to January's rain, and we sorted some of those out. That's just another picture of everyone working away. And then the next step was, once we had all that done, the guy came out again and put the flags on the four corners, and then the 2,500 trees, a cane indicating which species, was put on every single location for those 2,500 trees. And then the people came, and it was absolutely fantastic and so good. We had 6 schools, Watcombe Farm Nursery, so we had 3-year-olds planting, just marvellous, every day for 7 days. Yeah, it was just a really fantastic project. That's the one tree that's not native that is in memory of MoCo, because this whole project came about in part because there was a community who had fundraised to do a memorial woodland for MoCo, and that's the tree in the glade right at the end that is in memory of her. Yeah, I think that, and we also did some consultation on possible play. So many people are involved. I won't thank everybody because the list is very long, but there are lots of people around this table helped out. Thank you very, very much to everybody who did that. Oh, and this, look at this. That was recorded last night.
So how many trees
on the community woodlands? Yeah, in the community woodlands. Yeah. So, fantastic site for nature.
Before you go on, Rob, I just want to thank you, and everybody got involved. I mean, everybody around this table was there one time or another, I think. So it was a fantastic organisation, probably one of the best things we've done community-wise in the town for a long time. Yeah. And it'll be, hopefully some of us will live long enough to see what it looks like. But it was a great thing to do. So thanks to everybody who was involved in that. I know you put out an email with a long list of people involved, but just as acting chair or whatever, I'd like to say thanks anyway.
Thank you, Mark. So the depot, we've got a project to, this is what we took on from Somerset on a 25-year lease. It hasn't cost us any money in rent, but the deal was that we get it back into working condition. And the last stage of that this year is we need to do some works to the roof and to the gutters, because water is actually getting into the building. So that's a big project that is coming up. Again, Eastern Bevins are going to do the contract management of that and put it out to tender, and to ensure that everything is done to the right standard and we get best value for money. So that's work in progress. No one will actually see the results of that except the rangers, who will have a dry space inside. Just to say, winter tree works have been going on. That's the other thing that happens sort of in the background, but we do a report every year on tree condition and safety, and we go through the winter doing all the tree works to make sure all the trees are in as safe a possible situation by the end of that. Some of them we do ourselves. These are contractors doing work on a veteran sycamore in Millennium Green that was too big for us. Victoria Park has had a lot of work. This is the third play area that's having a refresh. It's having a very small toddler tower, a mini version of the one in Welshmill and Egford that we've done recently. That's a community bench that is made from the wood from the Norway maple that fell, that had to be cut down over the summer, and was turned, part of it, into the bench that's there, the carved bench, and the remainder wood we kept to one side. We planked it up, kept it to one side, and now that's going to be used as a really amazing community. It's 5.6 metres long, and that's going into the toddler play area there. We've had new signage, that's just gone in. That's to welcome, give people orientation, explain what they can see when they get to Victoria Park, but also set some of the ground rules specifically around dogs. And this will be used at some of our bigger sites, like The Sheffield and Victoria Park are the two obvious ones, possibly one or two others. We've also put the historic photos with some text in the situation around the park where they probably would have been taken. So you can see then and now a little bit of information about what that picture shows. And we've had some nice feedback about, they're not very big, so they don't hopefully detract from the site if you don't want interpretation. But yeah, so we've done that recently. And just coming up is we are going to be assessed for the Green Flag Award. I think they might even have already done their assessment. I haven't heard anything, so we might hear quite soon whether we've got that or not. But hopefully we'll hear about that. That's Victoria Park. Adderwell, just to say, it was a condition of sale that we fenced the boundary. That's now done. There is one last condition of sale, which is to do a post and rail at the first entrance where the houses will one day be built. But we're not going to do that until the houses are built. I'm not sure whether that's what stage that's at. It seems to have slightly paused. Anyway, there's one more condition of sale that we have to follow through on. But basically, other than that, it's all done. This is just a picture of what it looked like this morning. It flooded big time over the winter, as it does every year. That's what it's meant to do. It actually helps the flow of water slowing down as it reaches towns. It's a good thing that it floods, and for nature it's very beneficial having water stay on site. And you can just see there are areas which are still wet now. We're going to accentuate those areas by doing what's called a scrape to make them slightly deeper, 40 centimetres maximum in the middle, and then the water will stay there for longer to improve the wetland habitat quality of the site. That's the one big thing we're going to do down in Adderwell. Just some other things. The fountain, it gets switched off for the winter, so that's about to be switched back on any minute now. The Sheffield, we have a design for the Sheffield, and that is going up to explain what we're doing in the Sheffield. So that's work in progress on that. And also we're going to, this is at the, if you, on that photo on the top right, if you were to go to the left-hand edge of there, at the bottom of that hedge is where a drainage ditch hits the path and it's not draining. So we are about to do some drainage works to that part of the path, top and bottom. It will take less than a week. It won't impact Park Run. One of the upper or lower paths will be open at all times. Anyway, that's just about to happen. So just letting you know about that. That's it.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Rob, about that? Richard?
I've got a question about Victoria Park. There are a lot of van movements going from the, I guess the Rangers, the greenhouses and stuff like that. And inevitably, to get out of the way of people walking on the path, sometimes they park on the grass, and it is starting to look a bit of a mess now. So I'm just wondering what the plan is to, get the grass back as soon as possible to what it should be looking like.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, the main base of the Rangers is in Victoria Park, so there will be regular vehicle movements there every day. The site, it is a pinch point coming into that site, so there will be some impacts from there being vehicles. It's slightly impacted at the moment because some of the places we might be able to park on the left-hand side, there's some loop compost bins. They are going to be moving. We're halfway through a project to help them relocate down to the Welsh Mill area. So there'll be a bit more space there. The area under the tree, that's never really going to grass up because it's so shady. We did try to put matting down so that when the vehicles were there, they wouldn't trample the seed, but ultimately it's just not taken. So that will never be grass. There will always be vehicles that need to park there. So one option we're considering is stoning a section where the vehicles would park so that it's not muddy. But I think it's just a consequence of there being a lot of movements, because that's the ranger base.
I just wanted to say that looking at the presentation of all the areas that you and your team are responsible for, and it's not just the big areas, it's not just the little areas, it's everything and all the attention to detail. I just feel really lucky that we have you guys and that we live in such a lovely place. It really does bowl me over every time I see the level of detail and the thought that you put into it. So just want to say thank you.
On behalf of the Rangers, thank you very much, Polly. That's very nice of you.
Thank you, Rob. Oh, it's just gone up. Someone allow Fiona access.
I just want to say I won't echo what Polly said, although obviously I do think it. But one of the things that really stood out to me was it's really exciting to see plans for the play areas in those two of our devolution open spaces. I know we took over management of them last year or the year before. I'm losing track now slightly, and then took them on fully last year, so it must have been the year before that. But these are, I remember sort of going and looking around and doing a walking tour of all the different spaces we might potentially take on, and seeing these really unloved areas that were just really depressing. I always think about the horse on the spring at St John's. It just looks so depressing and sort of uninspiring. And so seeing those plans for those two play areas, obviously there's more to come with all the spaces that we've taken on. It's just really exciting, and I just think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think that's really it's really good to see, the sort of the vision that we had sort of 3 years ago when we started talking about these open spaces sort of begin to come to life. So thank you so much for that. And I just think the community woodland obviously has been a massive success, so thank you everyone for their work on that as well.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Rob. Okay, moving on. We pass on now to Flora. Flora. It's been a very long day. Laura to update us on our standing constitution chapters.
Hard to follow the beaver and everything like that. Pleased to know I don't really have much to add to the report. I just really wanted to highlight the safeguarding part at the beginning, because although it lies in our constitution chapters, the many chapters that we have, but it does form one of those sort of key policies that we do have in place, that is very much for our staff to be aware of, our councillors to be aware of, and then obviously the general public know that we have one in place, and it is something that we take very seriously and we are considering all the time. And obviously, just as an organisation, as we get bigger, the town hall, now we have the key centre in our sort of use, and it's another space that is brilliantly used by the community, but again, it's just another way of highlighting that safeguarding is something that we should all be very considerate of. There is a very clear pathway in there and an incident form and advice. We've now got Sian on board, who has a brilliant background in education and has done lots of safeguarding before. So she's replacing Nikki Cox as one of our safeguarding leads, along with myself and brilliant Hannah Stopford at the end there. So yeah, I would just encourage everyone to read it and be familiar with it. Our plan is to just give the staff at one of our weekly meetings just a quick overview again and a refresher, so that it's back on everyone's sort of train of thought, and it's just highlighting it again, if there were any questions.
Any questions to Laura about the safeguarding aspects and child protection and adult protection aspect of our constitution? Thanks to Hannah and Lenka for meeting and driving this forward as well. Very helpful. Thank you. So we have some recommendations. So we have to approve the update to Chapter 21, Child and Adult at Risk of Harm Protection Policy. Number 2, approve and adopt the updated Health, Safety and Welfare Policy, and approve the updated Lone Working Policy. So does anyone like to propose that? Lindsay, Ollie, seconded. Steve and I vote in favour.
And that's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. Now we pass on to, what are we doing now? It's the facilities management. Is it, or was it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. So Alice, to update us on facilities management. Thank you.
Yep, hi. Again, hard to follow Rob's bells and whistles. But, so my work program is broadly divided into 4 categories. So I've got statutory compliance, health and safety, planned maintenance and operations, reactive maintenance, finances, including things like identifying savings and efficiencies. So a whistle-stop tour. We've had no reported health and safety incidents at any of the sites, so that's a good starting point. Statutory compliance, we've had a number of risk assessments commissioned across the sites, which identify remedials. Those remedials have all been completed and are off the board, so we're clear. Specific sites, the Key Centre, interior redecoration complete. We've had an unsafe wooden structure removed from the site. Heating in the hot water system surveyed and serviced. We've got some work to do with that, with identifying if it's further work to make sure it's working to its full efficiency, and we can save some money on utilities. We're looking at security improvements for the site, assessing the roof condition. We are in the process of getting the log cabin repaired. We've got a leaky roof, getting that back into operation so we can get groups into that space. And Hannah and I have been meeting with the Bath and Wells Diocese and the Bath and Wells Multi-Academy Trust to look at use of an unused outside space that we would like to bring into use by the centre. What else? Badgers Hill. So I meet monthly with Badgers Hill Limited at the football grounds to have oversight over their statutory compliance and give them some guidance and help with that. So that continues on. Toilet block in the town centre. We've had a number of issues there: flooding, drainage, broken lock, rainwater guttering blocked. Those are a few things we've dealt with there. We've had we've got all the statutory compliance in place for that site as well. Rangers Yard and Depot, as Rob alluded to, the roofing work is going ahead at the depot. The Rangers Yard, again, all the remedials carried out. And Victoria Park Cafe, we've carried out a couple of repairs there. We're monitoring their energy usage as we rebuild them. Other work across the estate, we've done the initial surveys to have 6 of the sites upgraded to smart meters, and that will be happening later this month. For us to be able to keep track of the energy uses in a better way. What else did we have? Town Hall. So we've had in 2024 there was a 10-year building maintenance plan commissioned. We've just had a refresh commission to that. That arrived in my inbox today, based on the new figures and priorities identified from that report. We'll be able to go ahead to tender the envelope work for this building. So that's walls, roof, external structures. We'll be able to go ahead with the tendering based on that. What else did I have? I think that's pretty much it. looking, we've commissioned a benchmarking exercise to look at all our hireable spaces, see if we're in line, if our hire rates are compatible, if we're getting the income we need to or we should be, and yeah, that's it. I think. Any questions?
Any questions for Alistair? Lenka, then Pauline.
Hi, yeah, could I ask you about 3 different things, please? The football club, is everything like up together with regards to health and safety? Was there anything you can say?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of minor things, but yeah, it's the health and safety. So the last thing I raised with them was recording. So everything is in place. They just need to keep some of their folders up to date, really.
I'm on the community committee, that's why I'm asking, so I'm kind of in the middle. But I had a meeting with Fiona, so about it. Just wanted to know. Thanks. So it's, recording. Second thing is the Key Centre. There's a street light on the school side, and I think this happened, there was a situation with this a few years back, before COVID actually. That street light's out again, and I know there was some discrepancy over whose responsibility was it, because obviously it's not on the Key Centre side, but it's really dark. So when you come out in the evening, it's just, you're trying to lock the gates, and it's just, pitch black. So I don't know whose responsibility it is.
I wasn't aware, but I will look into it.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything we could do with maybe extra outside lighting or anything.
I mean, we've just had there's some lighting under the canopy end of the building. So the street end, so there's a canopy, external canopy of the building. And there were some lights that were out of action, and we've just had those repaired. So so that
might make a difference.
So there's now some additional lighting.
Right. Yeah. It's just, when you're trying to lock the gates, to put the code in and lock it, it's really hard. After food at 5, And the third one was the changing places with regards to the pin pad. Sorry to bang on about it, but it is urgent. Have you got any timeline on that?
Rachel?
Yeah, hi. As you know, we are out in consultation at the moment, so that is due to stay open till the first week in April, and at that point we'll.
But I thought the last meeting, when Andrew Jones sort of stepped in and said that was kind of a separate thing, that it's more urgent.
It's a separate thing, but we do need to know about it from the community in terms of, it's part of the decision making. So it was already out, open to consultation. It's there, and we're waiting to hear back what everybody wants. The jury is not totally one way or another, including it's PAMIS, isn't it, who are the changing places operator, could not advise as to whether it is certainly something that some councils are doing, but it is not widely across the board popular. So there is a decision there to be made. So one way that we'll look into making that decision is to hear from the community and see who's using it. And so there are
So it's the end of April, is the survey?
First week in April.
Okay.
And I believe we've got a paper coming back about the toilets in April, potentially.
Sorry, so when will the decision be made?
The decision will be made at the April. Well, I mean, I suspect that is a decision that we could take as soon as we know, but the April meeting is where we're due to come and talk about the toilets.
I think Fiona wants to step in on that one.
I was just going to confirm what Rachel was saying, that it is penciled in for April council meeting, but the changing places toilet decision could be made separately. I think Rachel is right, but we'll look and see what comes back from the consultation, because it does seem that we're hearing different things from different people at the moment. So I think, but that will be the beginning of April, from what Rachel is saying.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Anything more on facilities management?
I don't think you have to, yeah. Thanks, Alistair. You were talking about a piece of land, you were talking to Bath and Wells Diocese about, do they own the land that the Key Centre sits on as well?
The building itself, no, that's ours. We have the freehold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
So they own the land that the school sits on and the land around it?
Yeah, and the piece of land in question that is the nursery garden.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they own
They
that.
own that?
They own that, yeah.
Okay. And so you need their permission to do anything on that?
Yeah, so we're looking at a short-term solution so we can use it in the meantime. And then we're looking at, we hope to tender for a nursery provider, we need that land.
A larger area?
Well, the outside space
Yeah.
would be, a plus for the nursery to have access to that outside space.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that clarification.
So, unless we have anything else to discuss, next meeting of this committee will be Wednesday, the 26th of August, 7 p.m. in this room. Thank you for everybody for coming. Thank you for those online, and good night.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks very much, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thanks very much. If we ever get there, I'd like to. Thank you, Jane.
Bye, Fiona.
The end thing.